Listen, so I want to start off here first with the I want to start off here with the friendlies. Let's let's talk a little bit without going terribly in depth because it's not a first team roster. It's not realistically even a second team roster. It's really a January camp roster, right? There are players here I think we all can agree on that don't belong to be back anytime soon, but it was also a chance for players to prove where they can play. Is it ideal to do that before a year before the World Cup against teams like Turkey and Switzerland? No, it's not. But when half of your starting 11 is injured or choosing not to show up, this is the best use of that time, in my opinion, right? No matter who got called up, half the fan base was going to be saying, you should have called up player X because they have a better shot than player Y at making the first team. Ignore this and let's focus on what we have in front of us. What were your thoughts on the just shambolic, I like that word, shambolic performances from the U.S. men's national team? Let's start with the first game too. Start with Turkey.
Listen, I mean, I understand that this is like the C or D team or whatever you want to call it. But there are guys in this team that are supposed to be in the mix for this World Cup team. And to string together, I mean, I'm not going to, we'll take it one game at a time, but I'm just going to, for this one
Mm-hmm.
point, going to
Yeah.
just group it together. For the sake of this two-game friendly spread here, was it just unbelievable. Like, just so bad. I mean, just awful. Like, and it's honestly, it's a good summary of the direction this team is headed in. I mean, we are on, I mean, I don't know if SofaScore here is missing games, but four straight losses for this
Yep.
team.
4 in a row.
That's, and it's not like, okay, we're playing Brazil, France, Germany, and like Spain. Like, it's Panama, Canada, Turkey, and Switzerland. All four of those games are winnable. Sure, some of them aren't easy, but all four of those games are winnable. And they have just not showed out for a while now and have looked poor. And there's more stuff that we'll talk about with this team, I'm sure. So I'm not going to jump the gun too much, but this game was just a great summarization of that. And it was just, this team is just so frustrating right now. They are just unbelievably frustrating.
The biggest worry that I have, because I don't think Turkey in particular was a terrible game, right? We had moments where we looked okay. We had a 5 minute lapse of focus from our Atletico Madrid bound Johnny Cardoso. But what worried me about this
But
game,
he's in Europe.
yeah, when the European guy is the worst player in the team, the mental gymnastics watching the USMNT Twitter go through the mental gymnastics to prove that it wasn't his fault was great. But what worried me about this game most, from a coaching perspective, was that it felt like Pochettino was experimenting with tactics that didn't make sense for the first team. What I mean by that, I look at Alex Freeman, right? Alex Freeman in possession. Well, when we watch him with Orlando, right? When we watch Alex Freeman with Orlando, he is fantastic at getting forward. He's a right wing back, and he bombs forward. He gets involved in the play. He gets a lot of goals, assists. He creates a lot of chances, right? In this shape, they the coaching staff, whoever it may be, in possession, kept him as the right-sided center back in a back three. Regardless of what you thought of Alex Freeman's ability going forward, which I thought he looked good in the chances he did go forward, if you expand this out to what the first team will be playing, that right back spot is going to Serginho Dest. Are you going to keep Serginho Dest as a right center back and build out? If you are, you should be fired now because he is I mean, even in Greg's very bland and boring system, he and Anthony Robinson created the chances because they were so good at getting forward and going and getting on the ball. So we go into a game like that to say, okay, what does this system look like, even if the players don't necessarily perfectly fit the mold? And the first thing you're gonna do is take your right back, who the one player on the team who's very good at going forward. You're gonna stick him as the right center back in a back three. It didn't make sense to me, right? On the better side of that, we did look good in possession. We kept the ball well. We played out of pressure really nicely. But this game shows you what happens when you lose focus for 90 minutes, or if you don't stay focused for 90 minutes. Brilliant start. We had 2 goals in 90 seconds, it felt like, both caused by a lapse in concentration by Johnny Cardoso, and it put us behind. We had multiple chances to get back into it, and we couldn't convert them. it felt like that was not great, but it was a lot better than it could have been, right? Then we got to Switzerland. Your thoughts on the Swiss game?
Oh my God. I mean, where do you honestly, where do you even begin? I like again, I understand that this isn't the first team, and I think the first team would show out more, but this to me felt like the game where it just feels like Pochettino just doesn't get it with this team, with just the USMNT roster. Like I just I'm not saying he's a bad manager because I don't think he is, but I just don't think he is just quite getting it with the players that he has available for him. Because and it's not like, oh, he's only getting bad results with this like rotated team because we weren't getting results in the Nations League when he had, the best players available to him. So it just feels like tactically he can't figure it out with them. And we're kind of running out of time for you to be able to figure it out. So it's a really concerning sign, I would say. Um, I understand that Greg kind of, got us to a point where we got capped and we couldn't really like take the team further. And Pochettino was somebody who we could bring in to potentially take us there further. But the one thing about Greg though is I think he brought tactics where you probably wouldn't see a spiral like this. It was, I feel like maybe a little bit more of a safer tactic where you were probably still going to be able to get something out of your players there, maybe not necessarily reaching their peak. And now I think we took the risk and it is backfiring big time. And I feel like the Switzerland game is like the one to point at for all of that. Just like the like what would you like the thumbnail, I guess, if I'm putting it in YouTube terms of summarizing the current state of the USMNT.
You're such a content creator, bro.
I know, content
Um,
focused.
Listen, Poch came out and he fully admitted that he was experimenting with the lineup and the tactics, right? Is this the right time to experiment with the lineups and the tactics? Nope, probably not. And again, going back, I remember when we previewed him, the big thing for him was he was going to create overloads with wide players and go 1v1 and try and do all this stuff. And what didn't quite click for me was this idea that in the Turkey game, he kept it as a back three and just let Jack McGlynn be alone 1v1 the whole time. It worked relatively well when we were able to find him. We didn't do it often, but when we did, it was okay. And then the second game, he switches it up and he lets his fullbacks, stay at home. Every once in a while, they get high, but then it was two wide players who were trying to create chances on their own without having any overloads. It's like, well, this isn't what you were showing when you were at club football. Like, I don't I don't really get where the tactics were going with, right? Um, Switzerland outclassed us, right? Poch didn't have an answer for it. He might not have had an answer for it just on the bench. Like, even when the personnel that came in and they subbed on, they looked better, but they did not look at the national team level, which I think is not a bold take. Okay. What I do want to know here is